discovered 1791 in Halifax, West Yorkshire. She was reading from a young age and got a good education, more than most women got. Lister did a lot of traveling in her life, having been to France, Switzerland, Germany, and Russia. While in Paris, she studied anatomy and dissected a human head, which was something most women didn't get the chance to do. Anne was called Gentleman Jack, originally as an insult. It basically meant that she had a masculine mind, which wasn't normal and it was frowned upon in her time. Lister was considered weird because she wore masculine clothes and had a masculine demeanor in a time when being a woman meant being feminine. Lister began running Shibden Hall in 1826, but completely inherited it after her aunt's death in 1836. She redesigned the house and its surroundings to show off her family's enormous wealth. Lister made money by collecting the rents from tenants who stayed in her estate. Lister collected her rents herself, something that made her much different than most women of the 1800s. Another thing she did on her own that was unusual was sinking her own coal pits and using them independently. Usually men would have done these things for her. At the age of 40, Lister was elected to the Literacy and Philosophical Society of Halifax. She was the only woman on the committee. Anne was involved with politics, attempting to influence elections. She used her land and power to persuade voters. Lister one time pressured her tenants with their rents and dumping tar in a well to prevent residents from using it. This caused a mob to break out, and during the riot, effigies or dolls of Anne Lister and her wife, Anne Walker, were burned.
Anne Lister was sent to the Manor House School in York in her early teens. This was where she began to explore her sexuality, flirting with other girls. She ultimately was moved into the attic so she wouldn't distract the girls. It was at this school that Anne met her first lover, Eliza Rain. Eliza was a half-Indian who, after Anne began relationships with others, became depressed and was admitted into asylum. Mariana Lawton was one of the women Anne had an affair with after Eliza. Lister and Lawton fell in love with each other and were very passionate. Anne wanted to marry Mariana and was heartbroken when Mariana married a man. Because of this, Lister began wearing all black in mourning. Something peculiar about Anne Lister's relationship was that Lister kept lockets. These lockets contained pubic hair from her ex-lovers. Anne Lister's final lover was named Anne Walker. She was the young heiress of the neighboring estate, Highcliffe. They became lovers and Anne proposed. In 1834, they took communion together in Holy Trinity Church. They considered this their wedding, and Lister began calling Walker her wife. This marriage was the first recorded and studied same-sex marriage. Anne saw her marriage to Walker as a pledge to God.
Throughout Anne Lister's life, she kept diaries. She wrote these diaries in a code she created from various symbols, numbers, and letters from different alphabets and languages. In these 26 diaries, Lister wrote about her life, including her sexual encounters with women. These diaries are where many historians get information about Anne. John Lister, one of Anne's descendants, found the diaries and was able to crack the code in the late 19th century. In 1988, the diaries were translated and published by Helen Whitebeard, a historian. Anne Lister's shared diaries were used to help break the barrier against lesbians. Anne Lister was a fairly powerful woman. She owned land and was wealthy enough to never need help from a man to survive. In her diary, she wrote, "I love and only love the fairest sex, and thus be loved by them in turn. My heart revolts from any love but theirs." She denied men throughout her life, believing that a man's love was not for her. Anne Lister died on September 22nd of 1840 in Patsy, Georgia. She is a role model because of both how she lived and who she loved. She showed that women can be powerful on their own and paved the way for lesbians. Anne Lister broke the barriers that kept women and lesbians confined to what society said was right.